I have nothing I need to say to you guys. You already know what Mashle is, and this is the second season. So after Mash and friends defeated Adler Lang and that innocent Zero guy pulled up, the entire school found out that Mash could not use magic. And the thought of others knowing this turned Mash's brain into a fanboy and Chum Chum slushy. But Mondo from Danganronpa is screaming at Finn saying, no way you're friends with this magicless muggle. You gotta lock in, bro. But Finn's the GOAT. He stands 10 toes and slams him to the ground with his words, cause sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me like the Yellow Ranger from Power Rangers. But now it was just Lance for real. He turned his hair into a Christmas tree. But now they're chopping it up, having a happy Thanksgiving. Lemon made Mash all the cream puffs he can eat, but she drops one on the ground. Guess what Mash does? Turns it to the vacuum from Luigi's mansion and sucks it up. He didn't care about the pathogens. He didn't care about the 5-second rule. He was not letting that touch the floor. But Razor explains to Mash, Innocent Zero is after your head. They put a bounty on you. You can run and you can hide, but after you displayed what you displayed, buddy, good luck. But then we find out that Abel also only got his third line through Vinsmoke Sanji methods. He's a genetically modified human. That third line he was not born with. He got it added to him for helping Innocent Zero. So now that he's chilling with Mash and Mash kind of went against Innocent Zero and Adler Lang as a whole, things ain't looking too good for Abel. Oh yeah, and Dotson the King Tut rap. But Mash got called up to the Bureau of Magic to be put on trial for not having magic. And the guy's saying, well, this is God's perfect world. Magic was created, the landscape was created, and since you don't have magic, I'm not gonna lie, we're gonna have to get you out of here. You're ruining the world. We don't need people like you, and we should make an 86 district just to send people like you there. But nah, we'll just kill you instead. But then we meet our first divine visionary other than Rain. Nikki Kaminari decides to test Mash because he's like, magic really is everything. Unless you can show us something greater than magic, you're gonna be getting killed, buddy. So he says, if you can light this candle without touching it, you're good. You're good in my books, buddy. So Mash takes his wand out. He puts it to the ground. He starts rubbing his hands so fast he creates a fire tornado around him, leaving the judge and the divine visionary shocked, because how is he doing this no magic? Why doesn't he use this in more fights? But that whole entire flame just to light that itty bitty candle like that. But that's when the other divine visionaries start walking in, she expanding every step before they enter the door. Gaara attacks Mash, but Mash eats it like it's nothing. And this dude on the far left, he's looking clean. I can't even hate. Look at the cross necklace he's rocking, W design. And the dude on the far right too with the sword, I like him too. He looks chill, eyes closed. He reminds me of that dude from Hell's Paradise. I rock with him. But Gaara's agreeing with everybody else. He's saying, you gotta get out of here. I mean, you hid your magic and attended a magic school? That's gotta be a crime up there with the levels of I don't even know. It's just up there. That's all you need to know. But then the judge from before starts tweaking out, twisting his head, moving all different. That boy is Innocent Zero's property. You cannot touch him. We find out some weird thing is in his neck and it feeds off of your mana and basically controls you. So he's being taken control of. He's being possessed, whatever you want to say. So while they're trying to figure out how to save him, Dinky's saying, as the hottest and smartest guy here, Mash rips it off his neck. They're calling him crazy because it takes over Mash in a heartbeat. But while it's in Mash's mouth, he uses his tongue to tie it like a balloon animal at a children's party and puts it on the ground. They should have let Mash slide after this, because magic or not, he just did that, something none of them could do, and they're still gonna try to slime him out after this, because Gaara's telling him, you're gonna have to come with us, buddy. You are being detained. Mash stomps his foot into the ground. He's throwing an adult-sized temper tantrum saying, I'm not going. Gaara speed blitzes him. He starts moving that sand drill to his head, but Mash looks, peep the reaction time though. If he really wanted to stop this, I feel like he could have. But Dinky pulls up, puts the wand to the back of his head and says, stop there. You gotta lock in. And before things escalate any further, that's when the headmaster and Rain both walk into the room. But Gaara's still pushing for the evisceration of Mash, saying, I just don't care about your presence. I'm gonna be so real. You could be the president. You could be the king or queen. These are the rules. So Mash has to get taken off the mat. But after he takes off his hat and bows and says, please, bro, like, please, bro, I need this. Gaara still says no. Even Rain gets down on his knee. Gaara still says no. But finally, the judge from before says, I still think he should be slimed out, just not so soon. And even though I don't really like lack magics, I mean, one just saved my life. So I don't care if I get fired, but I ask that you guys look the other way. And I forgot to add in that the headmaster didn't exactly want him to not completely be executed, but just have his execution date pushed. Because if they're this set on getting Innocent Zero on Mash's head, they gotta keep him alive for information. Because we find out that back in his prime, his heyday, 1967, the headmaster ran the ones with Innocent Zero and he was toe-to-toe with him. So they're like, I bet we're gonna keep him on a leash, but we'll let him go for now. But Mash says that's not enough. Like Rich and Mary, I want everything. He picks his fist up and slams it to the ground and says, I'll beat up Innocent Zero myself. He shook their whole palace with that punch, and we just see this dude look up with a red eye. Yo, Mash is stronger than Goku, bro. Goku Glazers, do not kill me in the comment sections. I apologize. apologize for even making that joke. But after his entire court case, Mash and his friends decide to go shopping. Mash is working out, Lance is freaked out. I have no comment about this man's fit, but he needs to be locked up, put on a list. And Dot's just fly. I mean, I was hating on Dot last video, but peep the baggy yellow jeans, peep the crosses on the shirt, on the camiseta, man. He's moving different. I think camiseta means dress shirt in Spanish. I'm taking Spanish if you couldn't tell, so you know I might start speaking in Spanish randomly in some of these videos. But Mash and his friends get stopped to play a game. They tickle the koala's nose and they'll shoot out like icicles so they can play darts. Mash shoots his completely backwards in Dot's head. I don't know how he's still alive. Dot's like, let me show you how it's done. Shoots it at Mash's head. Mash flash steps and puts him in an arm bar. But then they walk into a wand store, and to find your wand you have to use magic to call it to you. Mash doesn't have magic, but he sees a wand on the ground. He's like, yo, what's that wand right there? Let me get that one. The shop owner's like, it's too heavy, nobody can pick it up, but it's said to have elf water under there. You sprout that junk up, you can have the wand for free. But no way you could do it. Mash picks up the wand and he gets the wand on the house. We see Gara just talking to someone chowing down on shrimp, and we see the person's face. It's a bisexual Marlin without the skull cap 1-to-1. Gara's saying, yo, I need you to get this dude off the map for me. I know this isn't a hitman, but I need you to be mine. Marlin tells him, I need something that'll get me excited, and that won't get me excited. And Marlin's going on, and Gara says, well, he be able, no magic. Will that get you excited? Marlin puts the shrimp down and starts playing the piano from excitement, and Marlin has to let Gara know, I'ma get that dude gone. We also find out that Mash has 7 gold coins, and the selection for the divine visionary candidates is finally coming up. So Mash goes home to visit his pops, and he brought friends. His pops is happy. But then we see Margaret Macaron, aka Marlin, flying to Mash's house saying, yo, I'm about to crash this party. But swords start raining from the sky. Marlin comes to the ground, and from the forest we see walking out Rain Ames. We find out about Marlin's backstory, about how Marlin cooked everybody in the tournament at the ripe age of 13 or 14 or 15. I don't know, it said 13 through 15. And Marlin's so hyped to fight Rain right now, Marlin busted out a piano with a snap, started playing a whole beautiful song just to come to this scary face. But Rain readies his magic and Marlin does the same, and they clash with an explosion. We see Mash and his friends playing a board game. I don't know why they stopped us from seeing this beautiful fight, but it looks like they're playing the game of life with a volcano or something. Marlin and Rain are still going at it, and it's looking even. Their attacks are canceling out each other's attacks, but Marlin raises the wand to the sky and says howling sounds, and Rain is on the ground in a heartbeat. But Marlin's gotta be cheating. How did Marlin steal Lance's magic and use it mid-fight? Margaret talks about not caring about worldly things. Marlin really just wants to run the fade for real, saying, Rain, you're not a threat. I'm not messing with you. I need Mash Burn Dead to run the ones with me, and then I'll feel satisfied. And oh yeah, Rain got bombs all around him. But after Rain hears Mash Burn Dead, he gets to talking. He's like, Mash? You got issues with my homie Mash? And then we cut to the headmaster explaining to this kid with an afro, saying, I'm sure you've heard of second liners. Yeah, you've heard of second liners? Alright, let me tell you about third liners. They're stronger than second liners because they got one more line. And Rain is the youngest to have a third line. Mash runs out to get some fresh air and ends up running into their fight. Rain tells Marlin, despite everybody going against Mash, the entire world hating him, shoot, 2 days ago he was on trial, he still tries to change the world. That is his destiny. Marlin's like, I don't care, I just want to fight for real. You can shut up. Rain's like, I bet. I didn't expect you to get it anyway. So Afro Kid asked the headmaster, is there anything else that makes a third liner, you know, stronger besides having one extra line and so much extra magical power? The headmaster tells him, oh, they can pull out the true form of their wand. Rain starts glowing and he pushes all of the magic around him back. He says Aries and pulls out his true wand form looking like a trident. Then he says Black Partisan. Margaret tries to put up a shield to block the attack, but Rain splits clean through that barrier, clean through the trees, clean through the crown, clean through the earth. The animation here was beautiful, but Margaret and Margaret's goons are nowhere to be seen. And Mash is like, oh, thank you, bro. You know, that was cool. You didn't really have to do that for real. But then we see Margaret, and Margaret got out of the attack barely unscathed, just a little cut. Should have eviscerated all of them. But it's the night before the selection exam. We see Dai, he's too hype. He can't go to sleep, moving like us when we were younger on Christmas night, or the night before Christmas. Peak movie. But we see everybody being introduced to the selection exam, and Mash is the last one to walk in, but Gara stops him. He's like, as long as I breathe, bro, nobody will acknowledge you. You will always be trash, bubble gum under someone's shoe. Mash's muscles start talking to him, saying, oh, nah, bro. Yo, he's capping, bro. Yeah, dude, you're the GOAT. So he puts his coat back on. He says, yeah, after I'm done with this, me and you can run a one. I'll beat you up, and I'll be good to go. Continue on with my destiny, but I'll see you. And he steps into the ring. But when they're explaining the rules of the first game, they have to find a key to escape. You know, the key's in a balloon in some fish's belly or something, and they gotta pop the balloon using magic. And they're being chased by Deader Vance. Good luck, y'all. So they get teleported into the ring with all the Deader Vance, and we see the shiesty sorcerer, if he decided to have a wand and actually try to cook up, oh wait, Deader Vants are immune to magic, so he's the first one out. And Finn's just being scared, but I mean, Finn's just being Finn. But the audience is trash talking, saying someone's already out in the first round. Bro, last year we had Rain Ames. This year we got Seth Curry. Literally, Finn is a perfect comparison to Rain Ames, with Rain being Steph and Finn being Seth. But we see Mash take his fists back and he punches the lights out of a Deader Vant. But we find out that the Deader Vants are Deadpool, Wolverine, whatever you want to call them. They can regenerate in a heartbeat, a demon from Demon Slayer. So Mash is like, all right, even I know I gotta run. So he starts running. But as he's running, he gets shrunk down to a itty bitty mouse. But the guy that shrunk him actually wants to work with him, and he's like, yo, I have a plan. He puts his finger up to his chin, gets to moving like the thinker, the egoist, and Mash's brain flatlines because he can't handle that. But while they're sneaking looking for the key, Mash trips, catches himself smooth criminal like Michael Jackson. So they find the balloon holding the key, but Mash touches it like a dummy and calls a Deader Vant to their area, so they gotta dash. But they then decide they have to blow up air somehow into the balloon, so Mash walks over to do it, and they call another Deader Vant to their area, so they gotta dash. So they end up breaking the bellows to try to get the key out, but all that happens is they broke the bellows, and now they don't know how to get the key out of the balloon. So Shrink Dude can actually make the stuff bigger, and he ends up enlarging the balloon. Mash starts in his weird tribal dance. He plants his hands down, he gets down, and he starts breakdancing so fast that it causes a tornado to go up and expand the balloon more and more. The audience was hating before, but now their jaws are dropped. They don't know what to say. So his breakdancing ends up completely exploding the balloon, and we see the key fall from the sky. Shrink everyone's faces. I didn't know his magic worked that far out. Get it? Because a dude with Mash uses magic to shrink or enlarge things, and their faces are small right now. Carry on. We see Lance has a key. We see that Dot has a key. We see Margaret has a key, but guess who doesn't have a key? Finn doesn't have a key, so Dot's like, all right, bet, I'll help you, I guess. But Mash wants to give the key to the dude with the shrink ray, and he's like, nah, bro, you can keep it, man. I talked to Rain about you. You know, he said you were a chill dude, so I'm gonna hook something up. And he's trying to rush him along because he has a bad hunt, and that's when he gets damaged out of nowhere. We see this dude walk up. His name is Carpacio from Orcadorn, and he's like, we're about to run it. Who do you think won? Put in your parlay right now. Put in your bets on Rain bet. And if you bet for Shrink Ray Dude, you are wrong, because he walks out of the gate and falls, and we see the dude Carpacio behind him. But we see this Carpacio guy stepping on his head saying, yo, weaklings are useless. And that's when Mash says, you're gonna have to stop that, or me, I'm gonna punch you. So he calls for some water. He grabs it and tries to throw it on Mash, but Mash turns it into a protein shake. Says he can never miss a calorie. But before things get any further, the announcer says, break it up, and says, let's save the final for the next time. I know we all want to see it, so y'all can fight in the next game. We'll purposely put you on separate teams so you can fight. How does that sound? So Mash, Dot, and Finn are all on the same team. And for this next game, all three of the members have crystals, and you have to protect your crystals while smashing the other player's crystals. Mash and Dot both lose their crystals off spawn. So Finn is the only one with the crystal. And when they go into the game, they get teleported to different locations, so Finn is all alone. GG's, bro. It's over from here. We get a random lore drop about 13 ancient wands that choose the caster that is most fit to use them, the strongest in the dimension. We see Finn plotting about how he's gonna make it out of this situation on his own, and that's when he hears noise on the other side of the wall. We see Carpacio on a dude killed over like a dog. Carpacio has a knife in his shoulder, and he reaches for it and twists it, and we see the other dude on the ground take damage. New versus pro versus hacker. Carpacio is saying, yo, if you're weak, bro, you gotta go. You're not supposed to be here. And he steps on his crystal, destroying it, and walks away. He was playing with the knife in his arm like he was playing Surge in the board game, taking tick damage like it's Minecraft. But Finn tries to hide, blending like a chameleon to the wall, and when he finally does it, stops his breathing, stops his heartbeat. He peeks over to see if Carpacio is gone. Sigh of relief. Carpacio's behind him. He summons some gigantic angel to stunt real quick. He says, oh, you're the dude who reclasses year after year, barely making the cut, bro. You gotta give up on your hooping dreams. You're not making it to the NBA. And Rain shouldn't waste his time messing with the system trying to get you to continue passing. You gotta just give it up. So Carpacio says, I'll take that crystal from you now. It doesn't belong with you. But Finn is like, if I give him this crystal, Mash is cooked, and Mash has to change the world. So he runs in for the attack damage out of nowhere. He's on the ground. Then Carpacio says, I don't know what you're trying to do. You are not that guy. Just hand it over unless you want to end up like that guy over there. We see Mash running quick. He's on the way. But then we see Margaret, and Margaret's talking about, oh, I guess the contenders are cool and all, but Carpacio, he was blessed by one of the 13 wands. That's why we got that random lore drop. Margaret's saying bless him. He's an unripe fruit, moving like like Palm from Hunter x Hunter herself. Finn finally starts talking about magic, because I was thinking he's like, Mash, we haven't seen this dude touch his wand once. We haven't seen him say one spell. And that's when he points his wand to the sky and says, dangerous. Carpacio looks up like, what? This dude has magic? And he runs. But when Carpacio starts walking up, when he gets to a certain point, Finn says, changes. Or whatever he says, and Carpacio is in an entire different room. But the reason he did it is because no one knew his personal magic, so he could catch anybody by surprise. But as he's running saying, oh, I finally caught distance, I'm out of here, his leg gains a new injury. He steps on his leg, twisting it like that deer did to Finn, and I'm just like, dang, I mean, that made me wince behind the screen. And he starts stabbing himself repeatedly, and Finn is just taking these attacks. How is he not passing out from losing this blood? Even the audience is saying, this is too much, someone has to put a stop to it. Carpacio's like, just hand it over, little bro. Finn starts having flashbacks of Mash and all of their other friends, and he says, I can't abandon my friends. He shoots a spell, it doesn't hit. He shoots another one, then gets split diagonally. We see Carpacio with his blade in his chest. Carpacio says, you shouldn't have messed with me, bro. I'm in a bad mood. You know, my girl just left me, so I'm gonna end this right here. You only made my day worse. He starts putting the blade to his neck, and Finn's not folding, even though he's staring death in the eye. But that's when we see a stepper grabbing a slam to the wall, and they replay it for us to see 3 times. But Mash tells Finn sorry for being late, and as he walks away, he starts dripping blood. Yo, what is this, bro?
Pain is something I can't feel, mate.
What's that behind you?
You flipping twit. Look at the...
I already told you, her name's Megan.
It's me, gun. And anyone who thinks otherwise and tries to hurt me will have the pain flipped on them.
So he stabs himself in the leg, and Mash takes the damage as well. So Carpacio tells him, ever since I was born, I couldn't feel pain. The wand chose me, and the angel lady in this little surgeon getup altered my life forever, so I can't feel pain all due to the master cane. And I would love to feel pain, don't get me wrong, but someone like you, a scrub, you cannot bring me any pain, I'm sorry. So Carpacio stabs himself in the shoulder, and Mash takes damage 2 more times, knocking Mash back once, then twice. Mash gets knocked back, planting his foot to fly in and punch Carpacio in the face, but he only damages himself. Mash is just in there hitting full-on combos, knocking himself back with each and every single attack. He's going against the Great Wall of China right now. He is hitting some crazy combos though, I won't lie. Carpacio says it again, if you don't have talent, you really just shouldn't be moving on this earth. I mean, look at Finn, for example. His older brother is Rain, and look at him. Dude's been a bum since middle school. Don't be like him. And Mash is like, yo, I see your point. But the fact that Finn could face his fears even though he knew he couldn't do it, that still makes him a GOAT. But to laugh at him like that, I can't let that slide. So Mash gets ready for the end of the fight, clutching his fist. He dashes in and he punches Carpacio clean in the face. It knocks him back, but does it look like he cares? He dashes back in with a barrage of punches to his face. He's doing him wrong with these combos. And Mash continues his barrage of punches, damaging himself, and even Carpacio saying, yo, you may be fast and strong, but what are you doing? And that's when the goddess statue cracks. Mash cocks his fist back and goes in for even more punches, and he's moving quicker and quicker, and the goddess statue continues to crack. He hits him with a mean uppercut from the ground, even making Carpacio hop back. He's like, hold on, wait. I know I said I was ready to feel pain, but I think it's too soon. But Mash says, knowing you'll lose this fight, can you be like Finn and take that L like a man? But Carpacio starts laughing because the goddess statue starts to transform. He's excited. He's like, this is the first time someone has ever cracked it, but it's only going to become more defensive. So the goddess statue throws syringes in the air and they come down at Mash, but Mash is dodging each and every single one. Carpaccio still stabbing his shoulders, trying to hinder Mash, damage Mash, but Mash is still dodging every single one. But that's when they stop and the smoke screen clears and the syringes disappear. He takes his iron wand out for the first time that he bought at that shop. He starts sculpting it like SpongeBob with his own fingers moving different, and he turns it into a tennis racket. He starts throwing a ball up and down, and that's when Mash jumps up, hitting the tennis ball. We already know he's about to cook the goddess in some crazy way, and it hits the goddess head on. He's taking Carpacio and the goddess statue to Wimbledon. He starts having a rally with the goddess statue, just going back and forth, hitting his forehead with the tennis racket and the ball, and he's dodging each and every single syringe in the process. Even the audience is going crazy. Carpacio turns around to look at his statue. He's like, yo, am I about to get cooked? Is it over from here? But that's when Mash hits it with the crit, runs up, jumps into the sky, and hits his ultimate move on the goddess statue and hits it in the forehead, completely destroying it. Carpaccio stunned. He doesn't know what to say. Mash says, you want to feel pain for the first time? Don't worry, I got you. Takes the tennis racket and slams it on top of his head. Iron wand, by the way. And Carpaccio survives this. Pull of blood on the ground, and he's moving like Gara, saying, is this my blood? Is this pain? Every time my heart beats, it spreads. But at least he's happy he felt pain, I guess. But we see Margaret and two randoms. Margaret saying, you guys are only a ray, you cannot touch me. Cooks both of them in a heartbeat and takes their crystal and stomps on it. And after Margaret says to Mash, the ripening summer arrives with this terrifying face, Mash gets a feeling from Mike, his pet. He told him that Margaret is bad news. We see the shiesty sorcerer talking to Margaret saying, yo, mess up Mash bad. I mean, he made a fool of me. A dude with no magic is making it farther than me. Get slammed into the wall. Margaret saying, don't mess with my fun. I'm trying to see spring bloom. We see cool sword dude talking to the headmaster saying that he's the administration of magic at the Bureau of Magic. And he's like, yo, I checked out Margaret. Those files are insane. Mash is going to get cooked. So he decides to test Mash for himself. He asks Mash if he wants to play a game. Mash is like, no. I don't want to play a game with you, buddy. But then he says, if you win, you pass the exam. You're good. And then Mash is like, all right, I'll play the game with you, buddy. So he tells him it's a game of you look, you lose. And you have to dodge all while being in the circle. So good luck, buddy. So he points up and Mash looks down. But he sees an attack coming from the ground. So what does Mash do? He contorts his body and stares at him. Not looking up, though. And for the second round, he hits him with two directions at once, left and right. So guess what Mash does? He waits till the attacks are about to hit him. He punches both of them out the way, looking down. And for the final round, the sword guy pulls out his sword. He's finally using his weapon, but it's engulfed in black flames. Everybody's saying, Mash, you're in trouble. You gotta quit. So he throws his sword in the sky and says, oh yeah, if you look any direction that isn't down, you lose. He runs up, catches it, and starts attacking Mash. But Mash is weaving each and every single attack. And mind you, he can look every direction right now, but when that countdown's done, he better be looking down. So when sword dude is still swinging at him on the final number, he plants his feet into the ground, takes the ground out of the ground, jumping up, looking down. And then he comes back down to the ground safely. But then the owl flies up and takes his cream puff, so he ends up looking at it. And he loses the game. Well, the sword dude's chill for real. He's like, you know what, let's just make it a tie. In your next battle against Margaret, you're probably cooked. You're probably not strong enough, but good luck. Also, this man Mash tried to take the attack from the sword head on, but he decided he had to dodge. That's why the sword dude is like, you're cool in my books. Join us on the other side when you get there. So before Mash and Macaron start their battle, Mash is like, hold on, I need to meet my calorie count for my workout. So he takes out a cream puff. Macaron's like, can I join you? Pulls out some shrimp and starts dipping in the tartar sauce. No stopping. Mash is like, yo, you can't do that. You're not even gonna be eating fried shrimp at that point. Macaron's like, what? Yo, fried shrimp only exists so we can eat tartar sauce. Even Dot's like, yo, Marlon's crazy. I'm not gonna lie. Based on the craziness scale, Marlon's at the top. This is gonna be a hard fight. So Marlon pulls out the wand, shoots a basic level spell at Mash, but when Mash goes to bump it like a volleyball, he notices it's a little heavier than usual. It feels like a bowling ball. So he gets taken aback into the wall, but after the smoke clears up, he's gone. Out of nowhere, we see Mash running, and he grabs Macaron, taking Macaron into the sky. Hits Mash's classic spine magic, Hellfall, and slams Macaron clean into the ground. The audience is like, yo, Macaron just got one tap. Easy fight. But we all know that's not the case, because we see Macaron still there. But we also find out that Mash couldn't bump the attack in time, so he started running back at max speed and then dodged the attack. He's acting like he got hit with one of Razor's dodgeballs or something. But we see some dragons and some dudes in hoods flying, and the main guy's saying, I've kept you waiting. I'm sorry, Mash burned dead. Who is this dude? So Margaret starts auto-firing at Mash, but Mash is dodging each and every single attack, running on the walls, and when Mash finally decides to close the gap and go for a punch, Margaret catches Mash off guard, but they stop the fight. Margaret says, you're guarding something. You're not locked in. You gotta focus on the fight. Mash takes a cream puff out, and he's like, oh wow. Thank you. You're letting me put this up? I bet. I'll go all the way out now. But Margaret says, all right, it's time to lock in. Show me what you're capable of. Margaret pulls out Psalm's Fall. Mash tries to punch through it, but ends up getting his eardrum split in a second. I don't think split's the right word, but he's basically deaf. Margaret then says, you really thought you could block this type of magic? We're not gonna tell you. We're gonna show you. Margaret sends out another attack, and Mash tries to block it and gets knocked back, but before he can get his balance back, he gets hit with one more. Tries to get his balance back again and gets hit with one more. And then we see him spit blood from his mouth, and blood comes out of his ears. Even the audience is saying, oh, this is over. I mean, we know who's winning. And then Margaret says, it seems like you weren't my tartar. You're just the fried shrimp. So Margaret pulls out the finale attack, summoning an entire orchestra, a whole domain expansion, and starts playing music so loud it explodes Mash and sends a shockwave flying out of the stadium. But when the smoke clears up, Margaret's like, where did Mash go? And a hand grabs Margaret's leg from the ground and pulls Margaret underground. But we find out that right before the explosion hit, Mash dove underground and started digging like a mole. He used the underground as noise canceling headphones so the attack didn't reach him. So then Mash takes his foot back and kicks Margaret in the face, sending Margaret sliding across the stadium. Mash then jumps in the sky, lands down on Margaret, and starts wailing on Margaret. The audience is like, Mash is a champ. The fight's already over. The sword dude says the audience doesn't sense it. Mash gets a feeling and jumps back. Margaret says, I'll show you my true form. Unleashes a musical scale. We're seeing demons and all this stuff in this transformation. I'm not gonna lie, it's looking scary. And Margaret's just a kid now. We see Dinky, and the Afro kid runs in saying innocent Innocent Zero is on the move, and Dinky already knows that they're on the move for Mash. We go back to Mash and Margaret's fight, and Margaret is saying, let me show you something real quick. Snaps and is at Mash's ear in a heartbeat, blows on his ear. This is the equivalent of the Felix and Subaru moment, and Mash is on the ground in a heartbeat. Lemon thinks her first kiss got stolen. She's getting heated over there in the crowd, but Margaret starts pump faking Mash, just showing what the real form can do. Teleporting all around him, not hitting him though, just showing him the speed. But we see Mash just trying to swing at Margaret and just completely missing. Even Sword Dude saying, you gotta move quicker than sound to catch Margaret, cause you don't have magic, buddy. But Margaret starts hitting ABA combo, sending Mash up and then slamming him down into the ground. And after Margaret flash steps back and the smoke screen clears, but we see Mash slowly get up and put his hand on the wall. After Margaret congratulates Mash saying, oh, you really are strong, but it's over from here. Margaret snaps and starts running in at the speed of sound. Margaret goes in for a kick, but Mash dodges it at the last second and Margaret only hits the wall. But we find out that Mash put his hand on the wall to feel the sound so he could dodge before Margaret hit him. But Mash steps back to go in for the attack and Margaret tries to snap again, but Margaret has tartar sauce all over the hands. So Mash hits Margaret with a mean clothesline straight to the ground and Margaret is not up, but Margaret gets back up. And Lance is even saying Mash has not seen Margaret second. I think Mash is cooked, but Margaret pulls out the wand and says sound second, death gong. And the animator's locked in real quick, so we gotta appreciate this scene. I mean, it's beautiful. Margaret tells Mash in 1 minute it will incapacitate anyone who hears it over a 2-kilometer range, and the only way to stop it is to get my wand, and you're not doing that because I can move at the speed of sound. So Mash is trying to catch Margaret, but obviously he can't because Margaret is just moving too fast. Even Margaret is counting down the timer before the bell will ring and Mash will lose the match. But as Mash crashes into the ground and only has 10 seconds remaining, he puts both of his fists into the ground, using the same move Gon used in Heaven's Arena but at a greater capacity, and Mash runs through the wall, breaking it. Margaret doesn't know what direction to go, but Margaret peeps that Mash went to the left, so Margaret goes to the right, but it was just a feint. Mash dashes at Margaret, but Margaret's moving too quick. Margaret's gonna make it out. Mash catches Margaret's cape with his pinky finger. He pulls Margaret back and slams Margaret to the ground, grabbing Margaret's wand and breaking it, and as a result the death gong goes away. But this is only the 7th episode. They feel some weird sort of spiritual pressure and the sky cracks and we see Innocent Zero come flying through. Innocent Zero completely stops time and walks up to Mash and says, my son, starts caressing his face all crazily, and he's like, all right, it's time to go home, Scout. But Wahlberg teleports to the spot and says, no, you ain't taking him. But we see a bunch of randoms in Innocent Zero, and Innocent Zero is the name of the leader of Innocent Zero, and he's saying Mash is a part of my family, so what I say goes. Wahlberg's like, nah, I'm not giving bro up. He pops his 2 lines like it's a Bankai. They get to chi expanding with both of their wands. Innocent Zero summons some zombies, cool. Wahlberg gets some students out of the time stoppage spell so they can fight. So obviously the students are cooking through the fodder, and Wahlberg teleports off with Innocent Zero because he can't get the students wrapped up in their match. But they tell Mash to go fight the core member of Innocent Zero, and it's the one we saw at the end of season 1. He's at the top of the tower, and guess what Mash does? He starts kicking the tower out like that one mobile cake game you play where you stack the cakes. That's how clean he's kicking the tower until the top floor comes to the bottom. And he doesn't remember who he is. He says, oh, you're the dude from the entrance exam, right? We find out that there was a man named Adam, and this man named Adam was the teacher of Wahlberg and of Innocent Zero. Innocent Zero reveals himself. He has a blank face. I'm like, yo, what's going on here? But then he starts piecing his face together like it's Legos, and he uses a forbidden spell. But we see Mash fighting the Innocent Zero member. He starts talking trash saying, after I'm done with you, I'm gonna cook your friends too, and Mash is getting flashbacks. So he uses his attack Carbo Rain, but this man Mash is running on his attacks. If you remember season 1, this man was punching them and that's all he could do. But after Mash punches him, sending him flying and laying on the ground, he says, oh, I remember you. You're the spiky thorn dude, but your attacks are played out, bro. So like low-key, you're gonna have to do something new. But we find out more about Adam Jobs, and in his past, he used to run the magic realm. But as he stopped fighting, as he got out of his prime, he started showing support to people with no marks. So he was a W man, and he passed these ideals on to his 3 pupils. And I don't want to give this dude any screen time because he's ugly and I don't want to keep looking at him. But basically, he's a puppeteer and he has control of the Adam body because Innocent Zero found out a way to keep the body there, but it doesn't have his same psych, so it's really just a puppet for real. I'm talking 4th grade Ninja War, those type of things. I guess they kind of did have their own psych, right? If I remember right, it's been years since I've seen Naruto. But he's hitting him with all the dark magic attacks that Adam had in his bag. But yeah, Wahlberg basically pops his ult and erases space and erases the guy using Adam and erases Adam himself. Mash asks the Innocent Zero member he's fighting, so why exactly does Innocent Zero want me so bad? He's like, easy, you're they're his son. There's 6 of his relatives and he needs them to all come together so he can have the perfect body. And he's like, honestly, I don't know why he made you one of his sons. I'm kind of jealous. And Mash is like, yo, bro, I don't want to live like this. So he takes a nap mid-fight. So while the Innocent Zero member is getting heated, Mash pulls up and punches him mid-talk. He's even saying, yo, you just punched me mid-dialogue. Let me finish my sentence at least. But he pulls out the true form of his wand and he's sending these 2 metal discs spinning at Mash, but Mash is dodging each and every single one, of course. I mean, sure, it may have cut him a little, but what's that cut gonna do? Get infected? He's moving like a ballerina out here on this field. We find out that this will track him until it eventually cuts him down. And the Innocent Zero member says, if you run, I'm going to use these black diamonds to cut down each and every single person in your school. So now you gotta fight me. I mean, and you can't even break these things. They're diamond tip. Mash sees the metal discs flying at him and he turns his back, and the minute it touches his coat, he's gone. Innocent Zero member's like, what? So does he really want his friends to get slimed now? I mean, I didn't think he'd actually run. But he appears behind him and he whispers in his ear, I looped around the whole school. I can coat my body in diamonds. So basically when these blades come back and they finally catch you, they're going to kill you and not me. And that's when we see blood splatter and Mash is on the ground flat. The Innocent Zero member steps on his head thinking he won the battle. But Mash's head becomes a cream puff. Mash gets back up and starts stuffing his face with cream puffs. I'm not gonna lie, this had me confused. But then we flash to the real world and we see that Mash choked him out so he could get the attack gone in time. And he tells him, if you ever try to mess with the school again, I'm gonna have to choke you out again with my muscles. Acting like he can hear it, like he's not on the ground passed out foaming at the mouth. Dinky makes it to the battlefield and they all group back up in the arena and they find out that Mash defeated one of the Innocent Zero core members. So they try to attack him and he's shielded and he gets teleported away. Innocent Zero and Wahlberg are going at it. If they were near the school, it would be off the mat. Wahlberg flash steps behind Innocent Zero, but he caught the attack. He's behind him and he hits him with a times rewound. Wahlberg is looking like Two-Face. He got his arm burned, his face burned, he's cooked. We see a flashback of a younger Wahlberg and he's saying, I was weak as a kid. I wasn't good at magic. I wasn't good at school. I didn't even have friends. I didn't even go to school. But Adam came to my house each and every single day trying to get me to go to school, telling me random animal facts that I didn't really care about for real. But all Adam had to say to Wahlberg was, I can't leave you alone. So he pops his domain expansion, his ultimate attack. I know I said he popped it before, but this is his true ultimate. Innocent Zero stops the entire attack and it stabs Wahlberg. But the spell continues. Wahlberg stored up enough magic to create this spell, so even if he dies, the spell could still go off. But Wahlberg starts hyping everything up. They're even playing happy music to get us going, saying, I do all this so everybody can live in peace. And he specifically talks about Mash, and the attack shines brightly for everybody to see. But then it starts shrinking and they're like, whoa, it's supposed to grow bigger, you know, as the spell goes on. So what's going on here? Innocent Zero reversed the entire spell and sends more attacks at Wahlberg, but Wahlberg is holding his ground. He's attacking, but one spell slips through, knocking his wand out of his hand. And as he starts to fall down, Innocent Zero catches him by the head. And Innocent Zero puts a spell to his head and Wahlberg's giving up. He says, oh, if I'm gone, Destiny's gone. We're all cooked. But that's when we see Mash pull up and knee Innocent Zero in the face, knocking him off of Wahlberg. The other students that weren't frozen in time told Mash to go find him, but they said without magic, I mean, you're not gonna find him. They were low-key hating. And then Mash says to Wahlberg, you remember the entrance exam? You asked how I would win a fight against somebody stronger than me. I knocked the stuffing out of it. But then they kill all his chi by showing us how he's flying. Innocent Zero steals Wahlberg's magic, then flexes real quick, destroying a mountain, showing him the difference in their power. But Mash goes in for a full combo on Innocent Zero. I mean, he's cooking him up, hits him with an overhead wham. Innocent Zero looks at him like, really, bro? No damage. Mash goes in for another punch, but gets his fist caught. Breaks the grab and goes for a kick, but gets his foot stuck. Uses his other foot to bounce off the magic so he can get back. But Mash tells Wahlberg, if I be someone as despicable as him with my own fist, everyone will accept me. Innocent Zero says that's cute, but his body starts tweaking because his body can't handle all the magic that he has in his body. So he's like, I'll leave y'all with a gift, but I'm out. He takes all the demons away from the arena. We think everything is great, but he fuses them into one giant demon. Dinky pulls up to save Wahlberg and he's like, no way, Mushroom Head was here? That's why he's the GOAT. He's second after me, and we see him running back to the school. The monster knocks rubble in the sky and it's about to land on all of the students. Since the time stoppage magic is gone, they're about to see their deaths. Balance is freaked out, but I guess his sister saved the students, so I guess that's cool. He used Gravio magic to stop it, but they all try to attack the monster itself, but magic doesn't work against it. There's a barrier, and they suspect that someone put up a barrier nearby, so they're trying to find the Innocent Zero member that put it up. But the students that are trying to escape as well, they run into a barrier and they can't leave the arena. Everybody thinks it's all over. Everybody thinks that they're about to get slimed out. Even Lemon saying, I haven't gone on my honeymoon yet. The monster starts getting dragged back and we all know it's not walking back, and that's when Finn and Lemon look over and see Mash. The other students start to follow and they're like, yo, we can't let a dude with no magic save us. I mean, what's going on here? Could he really be at the top of the school? He has no magic. But that's when this one random student says, does that really matter? I mean, dude's saving our life right now. He's the only person who could fight the monster. So everybody starts saying, go Mash. Everybody starts cheering Mash on. But it's not until Finn screams out, you can do it. I believe in you, Mash. Mash, and that's when Mash locks in. He steps back, hits a whole 180, and swings the monster over his shoulder. He swings the monster in a circle midair and throws it across the landscape, making it go through 2 mountains. And then it just randomly explodes on the 3rd. They hired Michael Bay. And he eats his classic cream puff. And even Dinky tells Wahlberg that Mash did it. His name isn't Dinky, by the way. I mean, it's Rio, but I've just been calling him Dinky because I don't know why. And they try to make this episode all happy and sweet. It's a beach episode. Least fan service beach episode I've ever seen, by the way. Absolutely peak. But Wahlberg tells them they're gonna have to go against Mash's other 5 brothers, and we know that's gonna be in the future seasons. But Mash has to study to pass his final exams. And Mash isn't the smartest, so everybody helps him study, everybody helps him get locked in, and he's locked in until he runs away to bury himself. But then he gets locked back in and he ends up passing his exam. There's also a newspaper that goes around talking about Innocent Zero's attack, but they pass it off as the Divine Visionary's victory. They find out it was Mash, so they storm Easton Academy when they find out that they're hosting a lack magic, and they're talking smack. Lemon's going to war for Mash. Dot's his agent. He even flips him off saying, "I'll kill you if you mess with Mash." But that's when this ugly dude starts talking trash, saying, "If I turn this lack magic in, I'll be rich." He throws a stone at Lemon. Mash gets heated. They start throwing a barrage of stones, but that's when Mash pulls up and starts catching the stones like it's nothing. The ugly dude summons his magic to trap Mash and says, "Oh, monsters get subdued by this, you're cooked." Mash pokes out of it with his fingers, right? He grabs it and throws it at the guy. It lands perfectly around the guy and the door follows. But that's when Wahlberg appears and says, "Don't worry, we'll get this all sorted out soon." And Mash says his classic line to close the season, "Whatever comes my way, I'll knock the stuffing out of him." Low key, I think I like season 2 a little more than season 1. I don't know, maybe that's just me. I can't wait for season 3. I'm not gonna keep y'all too long. Like, subscribe, comment down below. Why I say that? Hype the video. I'll catch y'all in the next one.